Hey guys. I usually I put a lot of links in my vlogs, but I'm just doing this real quick because I just want to tell you what I'm thinking, but I don't have time to do like a whole big production here. It's just about, this whole oh, the world's gonna end and the Webbot said some major event's gonna happen between November 5th and 14th and could be like false flag. And there was a Simpsons cartoon where the bomb squad sets off a nuclear explosion and a big clock lands next to Homer and it says 6:11 and the clock looks like a 10. So some people were thinking that this was a hint there was going to be a false flag on the 6th of November. Obviously, we didn't have a nuclear attack on the 6th of November. What was the other thing? Oh yes, Obama's out of the country. And this was the other aspect of it. That, the whole government's jumping ship. So why are they doing that? Because they're going to nuke the country while they're gone? Well, Obama's in India. That much is true. With Michelle, who's spending an awful lot of money. And the trip is like $200 million a day. That much is true. However, there started to be rumors that there were, he had an entourage of 3,000 people with him. And then later that was not only 3,000 people, but the entire White House staff. And also that the Clintons and the Bushes had also left the country, and along with all the elites, and then all the banker guys were off on Jekyll Island celebrating like the annual anniversary of the Federal Reserve or something like that. And Obama had 30 warships with him that he's taken over to India. Oh wait, no, let's make that 300. So it's pretty scary, right? But beware, because YouTube is like one big psy-op. It turns out that the sources for a lot of that information were not solid. I kind of noticed that Alex Jones wasn't talking about this. They call him a fearmonger or whatever, but at least you always know where he gets his information from, So Alex Jones wasn't paying any attention to this, and so no, it's not 3,000 people in his entourage. Now I heard it's 200. Definitely not 300 warships going with him, but apparently America doesn't even have 300 warships. No, not the whole White House staff. They're not all going off to Asia with him. It's true that Bill Clinton is in the Philippines and Hillary's in Australia. The Bushes are at this time still unaccounted for. But does that mean they're going to blow up the country while they're gone? I don't know. I mean, if all of the White House staff and the government and the elites left the country, it might not be such a bad thing. Just don't let them back. It might solve a lot of problems, right? Oh yeah, but if you turn that clock in The Simpsons upside down, the numbers, when they're upside down, the 6 becomes a 9, the 11 stays an 11, and the 10 becomes a 1. So maybe it's nothing but a reference to 9/11 being a false flag. And as for the Webbot, you get people quoting the book of Webbot like it was scripture, but the Webbot's not always right. So maybe people should just take it with a grain of salt. I don't think that they have to do like a large false flag watch. Every time I say something, I'm always wrong. So if I tell you the world will end tomorrow at noon, it doesn't. If I tell you there's not going to be a false flag, there probably will be one. So, this is not a prediction. It's just, my opinion. They don't have to do a major false flag like that. I mean, they did that with 9/11. They set up, the Patriot Act and Homeland Security, and slowly been chipping away at, our freedoms and our rights and getting us used to being violated and things like that. Not just in the US, but in Canada too, right? Because we're like an extension of the US. Although I don't know if everybody understands why I say that, but anyway, just look at the G20, I hate to use bad language, but Canada is America's bitch. That's basically what it comes down to. But they don't need to do like a major false flag at this point. They just do like these little false flags, like the DC bomber, the Undie bomber, the ink cartridge bomber, all this kind of stuff where like nobody ends up actually getting hurt, except for the Undie bomber when he blew up his crotch. That's all they pretty much have to do at this point, like as an excuse to like implement, stricter security in airports and things like that. What I do think is coming is hyperinflation. The economy is like existing on this bubble. The currency is really worth nothing. The country's in so much debt. It's not producing anything. I'm talking about the US. Not that we're any better here. Well, actually, no. Well, I don't know. We produce a lot of oil, so. But anyway, the point is it's like fiat debt currency, and we're in like tons of debt. As you can see, I'm no economist. But you don't have to be an economist to see that things aren't going well with the economy. My father was very good at this stuff. He was a stock trader, and he was convinced that there was going to be a second wave of the crash. Although he said it never happens within the same year. So maybe it'll be this year. There's predictions coming out now that, all the commodities are going to rise. Well, oil is rising, gold is rising, food prices are already rising, but apparently the food is worth a lot more than what's reflected in the price on the store shelves. So is bread really going to be $23 a loaf? I don't know, but it's possible that we're going to have this hyperinflation. But, what are you going to do? I mean, you can stockpile food for a few months, but eventually you're going to run out. And I don't think it's going to happen all in one shot. I mean, this has been happening. Look, 5 years ago, I could buy anything I wanted at the grocery store. I could even go on vacation if I wanted to. And now it's just different because everything is so much more expensive. But, the price of food has doubled, but my salary hasn't doubled. Although my rent's doubled, but that's because I moved, So I think, we're slowly getting used to having, less like a lower standard of living, and we just get used to it slowly. I mean, I'm going to say, this year, like, people aren't going to be spending a lot on Christmas, which might not be such a bad thing because it shouldn't be about, buying stuff anyway. But it's no good for the economy, and so then a lot of retail businesses are going to have problems because of that, and it's just going to keep getting worse. More unemployment, more people on welfare and food stamps, businesses shutting down. That's what I see. I can't see how this is possibly going to turn around. And meanwhile, more and more restrictions on our freedom and more violations of us as human beings, like what they're doing now at the airports, where they no longer have to use the back of their hand to search your crotchal area. They can use the palm and the fingers. I think that's really awful. I have a real problem with that. I mean, I could probably handle it if somebody had to do that to me because I'm an adult. But you know how traumatizing that would be to a child? I mean, that's like molesting little children at the airport. So you have a choice. You have your baby irradiated, or you let them get, molested. It's horrible. Yeah, that's what we're heading into, and it's just going to get more and more like that. But I don't think it's going to happen overnight, because if it did, everybody would probably, there'd be a lot of civil unrest, and people would really wake up. And as long as they can stay comfortable, they can kind of stay on their blue pill. But once, the bubble completely bursts of how everything is a lie, and people really wake up, then, it's going to be hard to keep the charade going. So I don't think that that's what the globalist elites want. They want us to stay in line, they want to keep us in line to keep us under control and keep us going with the program. So they don't want the whole program to explode in their face, So I don't think the world's necessarily going to end, although it could be something. There were some missiles, unidentified missiles going off, but who knows, man? This stuff just, it never ends. But I just think we shouldn't live in fear, but it kind of maybe want to get used to the reality that you're going to have less and less, buying power, and your standard of living is going to go down. But what do you do with that? Well, you focus on the relationships with the people around you, and maybe focus on your spirituality more, your relationship with your creator. So instead of, worrying about your iPhone, your iPad, you focus on other things that are a lot more meaningful. So, trying to look on the bright side. All right, well, thanks for listening to me rant, and I'll see you next time. Yeah.